Welcome to the broadcast. I'm excited. I don't know why, but I am. I guess I'm excited about the topic. So I'm giving you all some podcast teas, some podcast vibes, some adulting and dating. So thank you so much for joining me. Shout out to the YouTube channel, Impacting Mindsets Global. Shout out to the Impacting Mindsets Global business page on Facebook. And shout out to those that may be watching from the Dr. Kesha page. Welcome, everybody. It is super late. We have a holiday on tomorrow. I know that there are some folks that got to get up and get to work. They're not honoring Labor Day, but I hope that those that are going to work still, that you have an amazing day at work and it's relatively light and productive and positive. And for those that are not working, you're probably like me, late person, gonna stay up a little bit and do you. So, what often happens for those that are not familiar with me doing podcasting is we have the conversation. So, this is the format that we created some years ago, which is Chat and Tea with Dr. D. Dr. Kesha, that's me. All right. So I'm Dr. D, Dr. Kesha, and that's me. So I'm here to have the hard conversations, the conversations that people often like to avoid. And today I want to talk about adulting and dating. Okay. We are grown here. Most folks that connect with me on the social media platform, I believe you're at least older than 21. I don't, based upon the algorithm, based upon the demographics, I think everyone is 21 of age or older that views, that watch the broadcast and listen to the podcast and things that we share on the platform. I want to emphasize that because, again, we're going to have an adult conversation and we're going to focus our adulting in dating. Now, since I'm talking to grown folks, you would think I wouldn't have to have this conversation, but unfortunately, not everybody is an adult in dating. Not everyone, moves as a mature individual in dating. And so we're going to talk about some aspects of dating and how dating can be better for you when you are mature in the process. Now, just to be more specific, we're not talking about dating while in a relationship already, right? Because we do know that there are married folks that still date, which is cool. I think it's dope. You should keep that spark sparking. You should keep that spark blazing by having your intimate times and having plenty of fun as married couples. If you happen to be in a relationship but yet not married, continue to have fun, continue to enjoy one another, continue going out and exploring and making memories. That's an awesome thing. You should continue to do that. It's not just in the early stages of a relationship or an aspiring relationship, but it should continue on and throughout the relationship. Okay. But I'm making reference to the early stages of the getting to know you phase. I'm really focusing on before you decide that this is your person. That's what I'm making reference to. All right. So let's take a deeper dive into the conversation. Again, this is adulting and dating. First of all, rule number one, and people don't like rules, but I feel like if you give folks parameters to work with, they'll be more conscientious when they're in the process, right? They'll be more conscientious of the do's and don'ts than when you don't, or you're just talking, right? So rule number one, just to make it more organized and easy for you to reference. Treat others as you would have them to treat you. Yes, the golden rule. It's really that simple. You treat people. It doesn't matter whether you are male or whether you are female. You treat people the way you want to be treated. So, if it comes down to the resources or the finances, when it comes to the where you're going to meet, when it comes to the distance, when it comes to particular activities you're going to, do while on the date, if you choose to go to that extent, or if it's something basic, it really truly doesn't matter. Those technical things doesn't matter if you treat people like you want to be treated. So if you want to be treated special, if you want to create memories, if you want to get in the relationship with this person, you're going to lead with your best foot forward and all those things. So that's number one, rule number one. Treat other people like you want to be treated. Hi, welcome to the broadcast. We're talking about adulting and dating, right? And we're referencing the early stages of a relationship, or for those that are trying to get in a relationship. We're not referencing or discussing dating in marriage or in a relationship. So rule number one would be treat other people like you want to be treated. So if you're asking somebody on a date, or whether you've accepted the offer to go on a date, treat other people like you want to be treated. If an agreement was made that you were going to meet at a particular location at a specific time, be on time. Why? Because if the shoe was on the other foot, you wouldn't want to be just hanging around waiting for them to come without any, communication, especially if you indicated a time, you indicated a place. You may have indicated, the attire, because depending on where you're going, obviously your attire should be adjusted. Obviously, if you're going near water, you shouldn't have a suit on. So, and if you want it to be a surprise, you at least should, give a hint in terms of what the attire should be or what they should bring on the date. But treating other people like you want to be treated is really truly the golden rule, because it's being simply being considerate. It's simply being considerate. So if you want them to be on time, you be on time. Just basic stuff like that. Believe it or not, basic things like that. If you want to be on time, if you want them to be on time, you be on time. And for whatever reason, if they're not able to make it because of traffic, or if there was an emergency, what would you like for them to do? You would like for them to communicate that, right? Yes, you would want them to reach out to you. Now, a text message may not be the best, especially if you're in a commute situation, meaning you're driving, right? That's kind of dangerous. Unless you're at a stoplight or you pulled over, then you can text. But in truth, if you can, a call would probably be a little bit more appropriate, especially if you've made the commitment to meet someone at a certain place at a certain time. They went out of their way to get their hair cut. They went out of their way to get their hair done. They went out of their way to maybe pick up a new piece of clothing item. They went out of their way, right, to take a shower and to smell good. They went out of their way. And for you to at least not call or text or communicate and say, I'm so sorry, I'm running late, or I'm so sorry, I'm stuck in traffic, or I'm so sorry, I'm en route, something came up, please wait for me. Or if you can't, I understand. But that communication is a courtesy. And again, you put out the same energy that you want to get back. If you were in a situation where you're the one waiting and there's absolutely no communication, let's say you waited for an hour Let's say you waited for an hour and a half too long, but let's say you waited and the person never showed up. Then what? Obviously, if you've never, and then let's say maybe the next day they reached out. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. It just slipped my mind. Yeah, we were supposed to go out. Oh, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, unless there's a justifiable reason like an emergency, hospitalization, or some sorts, it slipped my mind, it's just not going to cut it. It is just an indicator either that they just really didn't want to go despite of the commitment that they made, or someone else came on their radar, or again, they're just not into you. But there is a reason. But I'm so sorry I forgot about it. It just doesn't make the cut, in my opinion. Because adulting and dating, when we're mature, we don't waste people's time because we want to treat people the way we want to be treated, right? So I feel like if everyone moves in the ways and the manners in which we're discussing, even if, because not every encounter is a win, in a sense of you're going to get into a relationship with this person or that's your person. Not every encounter is that. Some encounters, they have their purpose. It could be a lesson that you need to learn. It can be some experience that you need to gain. Or maybe it's a potential friend. Maybe it's a potential business partner or someone that you're going to do business with. There's many, many, many different reasons why people meet. And it's not always a love connection. And that's okay. That's okay. But when you handle people, though, it needs to be understood that you have to treat people the way you want to be treated, because if you don't, you're going to get that same energy. And I really believe that a lot of folks that disregard folks, that disrespect people's time, disrespect and that because of how the way they move, they get it back, and oftentimes they can't handle it. They can't take it. They can't take the heat. But it's for your good, because you need to know how it feels to be on the other end of that. You need to know how that feels. So that's number one. Treat other people. It really doesn't matter what it is, whether it's timeliness, whether it's keeping your word. I'm a firm believer. I'm a stickler for my word being my bond. I'm really a stickler for that. And there may be moments when I may promise something to myself and I don't follow through. And I'm really hard on myself when I do that. But for the most part, if I'm telling somebody else that I'm going to do something, I don't want anything to keep me from it. That's why I'm very careful with how I make commitments, when I make commitments, if I make a commitment. I'm very, very careful, because I don't want it to be said that I said something and I did another, or I didn't follow through, or I didn't keep my word, or I lied. I don't ever want it to be said that. I came under the generation of your word is your bond. Honestly, that's street code. I came under that. And so that's kind of in my DNA. So that's how I move. So if I can't do something, I just simply make it known that this is something that I can't do. Perhaps I'll offer an alternative if it's appropriate. And if it isn't, I may not. Or maybe something I just don't want to do at all. And I just won't make the commitment. But anytime you agree to do something with somebody, make sure that you keep your word. And like I said, I understand that emergencies, they happen. Yes, plans can change, right? But we have to be careful, especially if it's in the beginning stages of your relationship. If your plans consistently change and you're constantly all over the place, making plans, breaking plans, making plans, breaking plans, and you're creating a pattern, that person is going to have a hard time trusting you. And I would even advise not to trust you, especially emotionally, because you can't be trusted. You can't. If you can't be trusted with the basics, then more than likely you can't be trusted with something that is difficult, hard, or challenging. And depending on who you are, whether you're male or female, it really truly doesn't matter. To me, the burden is more so on leaders, which would most folks view men as the head of households. But it really truly doesn't matter, because if a woman is inconsistent, then can you trust her, especially if you're vetting a mate? Can you really trust her to be a mother to your children if she's all over the place and inconsistent, or she's lying and she's not keeping her word? You really can't trust her. You can't trust her with your heart. Can you trust her with your resources? If she's lying in the beginning, and I'm talking about with the intention to deceive. If this is happening in the beginning, again, that speaks to their character. So you have to understand it's not just about, oh, they just made a mistake and blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about patterns. I'm talking about observing behavior. So that's why it's important for us to watch people. It's not what they say, it really truly is in what they do. That's what dictates what's in their heart, what's in the core of their mind, the way they move. And if they don't respect you or think highly of you, their behavior is going to show you. Please know that anything that's important to us, anything that's of value to us, we treat it in a different way than we treat what we would consider ordinary or something that is not special. If it's a pair of shoes, right? Maybe it's your first, pair of Jordans. It's a classic. You don't want nobody to step on them. You don't want to step in mud with them on. They probably propped up somewhere nicely and nice and clean, you know, whatever. You wear them on special occasions, you treat them special. Same thing with people, right? Same thing with people. So you have to be also mindful of that. When you start seeing patterns in treatment, I'm talking about in dating, whether it's day 1 or day 1,000, you have to look for patterns and consistency. Now, I'm not saying that people can't make mistakes and, we can't give them a pass. I'm a firm believer in second chances. I really am. But you best believe the moment that something happens that makes me feel a certain kind of way, you've got my attention at that point, because up until that point, I've trusted you. I've trusted that you would be reliable. I've trusted that you would keep your word. I've trusted that you would do the right thing. I've trusted that you have character, that you have morals and values. But the moment you do something that doesn't reflect that, then now my eyes have become open and I'm watching you very closely. And I'm not saying that I'm the standard, but what I am saying is that it's just only right. It's only principled that we watch people, especially people that we don't know, and that we are not to outweigh what they say above how they move and how they behave. All right. So that's important to note. Very important to note. Okay. So we have number 1, treat other people how you want to be treated. Okay. And I think number 2 is watch them, watch for patterns and for behaviors, making sure that they line up with what they say or line up with the character they claim that they have, the integrity that they claim that they have. Make sure that their behavior lines up with what they say. All right. That's important. And when you begin to see cracks in that or contradictions in that, it's just something to know. And then you really honestly have to make a hard decision. And it may not be hard, especially if it's early in, shouldn't be that difficult. If it's early in and you haven't invested a lot of your time and energy and emotions into it, that's why I say that's another number 3, guard your heart, but we're not there yet. If you haven't invested a lot of time and energy and emotions into the situation, it's not difficult to say, you know what, I've noticed that you're having a very hard time keeping your word. I've noticed that you keep switching on me. I'm noticing some patterns of inconsistency. You may be a great person, but right now, maybe this just isn't a good time for you to date. And I'll be more specific. Maybe it isn't a good time to date me. Maybe I'm just not your person. I wish you well. Godspeed. Take care of yourself. We can stay Facebook friends because, some of us, we follow people on our Facebook and stuff like that. We follow each other and stuff like that on our Facebook. So we can remain Facebook friends. We can stay connected, what have you, or what you can be cordial. That's not a problem. But it's just not for us to be in a relationship, because again, based upon how they're moving, they just don't seem like that they're ready for something long term and something serious. Maybe they're just accustomed to something that's more casual. And that is completely fine. Because if you're, again, know yourself, that's another thing. Now that would be number 4. Guard your heart is number 3. But you have to understand this. You have to know what it is that you want. And you have to also understand how much you're worth and what your value is. And, again, people that treat you poorly, they may feel like, you're doing too much. Unfortunately, because of the way they move, they don't have very high morals or high standards in life. If they feel like the poor treatment is acceptable when it's not, and they try to make you feel bad for not just accepting anything from them, then clearly the problem is within them. Please do not internalize any of that nonsense, so that we're adulting and dating. Please don't internalize any of that foolishness. That's reverse psychology. Okay, they're trying to flip the script. No, you shouldn't tolerate poor behavior. You shouldn't tolerate, again, being disrespected, or just a person just simply not being mindful of you. You shouldn't tolerate that. You shouldn't have to. I think that we should think not too highly of ourselves, but we should have some self-esteem. We should have healthy self-esteem and know our self-worth. And when you know that your time is money and your money is time, your time is currency, and you can't get that back, you're going to move a little bit differently when it comes to how other people deal with your time and how you deal with your time as well. But especially when having to deal with other people and how they squander your time, or you allowing them to squander your time. Okay, so that's important. Guarding your heart, adulting and dating. Now, in the dating world, in the dating situation, and on apps, in person, you meet people that are interested in you, or you're interested in them, or whatever the case may be. It's just a part of the process. Anytime you're meeting new people, it's a gamble. You don't know exactly who you're meeting. Again, you don't know who they are. You don't know where they've come from unless you have a connection. You have, a person that referred you to this person and they know their family and background and history. But if you don't have that kind of rapport, and that's not how the meet went down, this is a person that is brand spanking new. So from the moment you make the connection to the moment you decide whether you see this person in your life for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime, before you can get to that reason, season, or lifetime, you need to guard your heart. That's number 3. Guard your heart. It's okay to entertain somebody, ladies, if there's a suitor and someone pursuing you or someone that has expressed interest in you, it's okay to give them audience. It's okay to make time to get to know them, especially if you're looking to get into a relationship. If you are not looking to get into a relationship, just make sure that you make your intentions clear and make sure that the individual who is pursuing you makes their intentions clear. Everyone, when it comes to adulting and dating, should always make their intentions clear. What is that, number 6? Always make your intentions clear. All right. But when it comes to guarding your heart, everybody doesn't belong there. Only one person. And that person would be either your husband or your wife. That's it. Not everybody else is allowed in your heart or in your head. No one but, and I'll say this again, no one but your husband or your wife. But you know what we do? We make mistakes and we get too close to people emotionally before the person has been properly vetted. Yeah, we do, because they say the right things. You know, there's the pheromones, there's the chemistry, there's the attraction, all the wrong reasons. We let our guard down, and before you know it, they're in our head, they're in our hearts. We haven't fully vetted them. We haven't gotten the clearance from heaven. Yeah, we haven't prayed about it. The Lord hasn't led us. And now we're in this web that we have weaved because we've allowed this person in, and it's a whole problem. And we don't even know what their intentions are. We don't even know, or maybe they have stated their intentions. Maybe they made it clear that they don't want a lifetime with you. As a matter of fact, maybe their goal is to just have a friend, maybe a long term relationship, but maybe their goal is to never be married at all or married again or whatever the case may be. And if you're in a situation where you want to be married or married again, and you all are not on the same page, but now you've invested into this relationship. Your heart is vested in this. You're invested emotionally. All right. And whatever other thing that you've done to cause yourself to be closer to this person to the point where you have a soul tie, you know? So that's a problem. So you have to guard your heart in relationships. You can't just let people in like that. Don't be so quick to let them in. Because again, the only person that should take space is your person, is your husband and or wife. That's the only person that should take space in your consciousness, in your head and in your heart. That is the only person. Okay. So with that being said, guard, protect, be kind, be respectful, but just be smart. Adulting and dating means being intelligent. You have to be intelligent. You have to be emotionally intelligent when you're dating people, because this is the day and age that we are in. You have to be smarter than the average bear in order to survive this dating world. You do. You really do. So, again, they have to state their intentions. And I believe that was number 5, right? Stating the intentions. You're 100% clear in terms of what they want and how they're going to go about it. That has to be made clear from the gate, from the door, or you don't proceed. We don't even have conversation. Go out where? Do what? That doesn't happen if they don't state their intentions. All right. And then you do the same. I believe 100% in matching energy. I really do. If a person calls, I call back. And there may be times when I initiate the call. I don't have a problem with that. To me, there should be no pride and ego, but unfortunately, not everybody's there. Not everybody's done their self-work. So there may be some presence of ego and pride when dating. But if you're the leader of the pack, you don't have to lead with ego. You don't have to lead with pride, but you can lead with confidence. There's a difference. All right. So state your intention. Make her understand what it is that you want. and how you're going about the pursuit of that which you want, which is her, a relationship, or whatever it is that you want. Outline it, make it plain, make it clear. Even the Bible says you have a vision, write it down, make it plain. When you're pursuing someone, or if you're being pursued, all intentions need to be put on the table. What it is that you desire from this? What do I need to know going, moving forward, so that we can be walking together? Because even the Bible says that how could two walk together, right? Unless they be in agreement. So how am I supposed to agree with how we're walking unless you tell me what it is that you see in terms of the agreement? What do you foresee? What do you want in that agreement? And I tell you what it is that I want. And if we're on the same page, then we can then walk together. So intentions, clear intentions are important. All right. And then you may be on the same page, which you just want to date. You just want to meet new people. You just want a friend. That's completely okay. As long as you two are on the same page with that, hey, this is adulting and dating. If that's the goal, that's the goal. But if you want something different than what they want, then you're obviously not on the same page, which is an indicator that this is not the person that you should connect with or try to establish something long term. Because again, if you're not on the same page with that, then it can be a complete waste of time, and you may get yourself hurt, thinking one thing and then it ending in another. All right. What else in adulting, in dating? Not just intentions in terms of whether you're meeting for a reason, season, or lifetime, but also how you're going to engage in the relationship. This is adulting, sex or no sex. Um, if it's a long distance situation, how's that communication going to be? What will that communication look like? You need to be on the same page. Communication, what is that, number 7? Should be number 1, but communication is key. It is impossible to have any relationship without good communication. You can't have a good business relationship without good communication. You can't have a good relationship with your children without a decent, good communication. Your spouse, business partners, God. If you don't communicate with God, you can't even have a relationship with Him without communication. So communication is key. I can't stress it enough. And believe it or not, let me for some of you, I may hit you on some game. For those of you all, you already know. But whether you talk or not, you're still communicating. Communication is not only verbal, but it's also nonverbal. So when you don't communicate, you're communicating. Let me tell you what lack of communication, what does it say? It says that the individuals are not a priority. Now, you may say that's strong. That's very strong to say that if I don't talk to somebody that I'm interested in, that I'm not, they're not at the forefront of my mind. Okay, so if they are at the forefront of your mind, another adulting and dating is people are not mind readers. So if they're observing your behavior and they're listening to what you're saying or what you're not saying, then it can easily be interpreted that you're just not interested, even if you are interested, if you don't communicate. So, in order to have, again, a relationship, period, whether it's with God the Father or with somebody that you're interested in, it's important to communicate. Now, this is 2022, okay? Let's date this video. It's September the 5th, 2022, right? All right. We have so many different ways to communicate. So many different ways. We have the modern tech, right? We have cell phones. On our cell phones, we have voice texts, we have auto recordings, we have text messaging, we have video chats, we have videoing. How would that be? That's for those that have, let's say, an iPhone, we have FaceTime. For those that have an Android, you also have an app that you can use to do a video, right? Communication with your partner. There are emails. There is snail mail. So there's body language, right? Though you're not verbally communicating, but there are non-verbal cues. Yep. So we are always communicating. We're always communicating something. So what you don't want to happen is there be miscommunication. See, even when you're not communicating, you're still communicating. So if they interpret your lack of communication or non-communication as something else, then there can be miscommunication. And if they're miscommunicating or you're miscommunicating with one another, it can cause confusion. And what does the Bible says? The Bible says that God is not the author of confusion. So in order to avoid confusion, what needs to happen? Communication. Sometimes you have to get to the point of communicating where you overstand, okay, in your relationships. There are different strategies that couples can use, especially when you get to the point where you're coupling. There's different strategies that you can use to make sure that all hearts and minds are clear. It's called active listening. That's a fun one. And then we have to also take into consideration that everyone has a communication style or language. All right. So there's a lot of different aspects of communication, um, which we have to tap into, right? So again, how can two walk together unless they be in agreement? You know, you have to be in agreement. How, how can you be in agreement if you're not even in communication with each other? All right. So yeah, it's so important that we develop some really good listening skills and communicating skills. Um, so key, so paramount. And if we don't have them, if we do not have them in the beginning, then guess what? You're going to have to learn those skills eventually. You really, truly do. It's important. It really is. So, based upon the information that I provided, like none of us have an excuse. We really don't. I get it. But at the same time, you know, I get it. But at the same time, we don't have any excuses. Yeah. Yeah. What I do find, especially in this day and age, is that a lot of folks don't have a lot of high emotional intelligence. They don't. But I will say that it can be developed. It can be developed. You can develop it just by having and learning mindfulness. Just by learning mindfulness. Um, that's so key. All right. So there's more. Um, there's so much more, but that communication thing, that really does weigh on me because unfortunately, you know, whether it's on the job or dealing with somebody that you're interested in. And again, should there be room for error in this process? Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can leave room for error. The only issue with that is, where do you draw the line though? Especially if, and I will say this, um, where do you draw the line? Especially in an initial dating situation. Oh, yes. And let me add assertive communication. So there's different types of communication style. A lot of us are passive communicators, where it's like we do, we throw our rock and we hide our hand, pretty much in our communication styles. Most passive communicators will suppress their thoughts, their feelings, and then when they get tired of suppressing them, they'll come at the person unexpectedly, and then the other person doesn't even realize that, other than sensing that you're a little perturbed about something, because you're now being passive aggressive uh, in your communication. So not saying anything is that's not good, and aggressive obviously is not good either. So being assertive, that's a whole nother style of communication that we have to learn, because we have to learn to share with our partners, especially if these people are being vetted for partners or people that we're considering in dating. We have to use our words. We have to tell people what we want. We have to be able to articulate what we need and desire. All right. So when you do that, you have to be assertive. You can't be ashamed or afraid to tell them what you need and why it's important to you. And guess what? If that person is your person, then they're going to eat it up. They're going to take notes, mental notes, literal notes. They're going to remember, and they're going to do everything in their power to try to make you happy, especially if they're interested in you, and vice versa. You should be turning up your listening ears. They should be encouraged to also practice active listening, or active listening and also assertive communication. They should be encouraged to do the same. It's not a one street. It's should be both streets. It should be, you know what I mean, an ebb and a flow to this when it comes to communication. But that is huge, especially in adulting. When you're adulting and dating, you're responsible. Just like we say to our kids, you should grow up to be a responsible adult. What does a responsible adult look like to you? A responsible adult takes care of their business, right? A responsible adult takes care of their family. They know their role, they know their place. They're taking care of that responsibility, whatever that may be. They hold themselves accountable, and they allow others to hold them accountable too. If you are a person, and I will say this for those that are in the dating game, if you're a person that doesn't want to be held accountable, then that is a telltale that you're not ready for a relationship. Because as the two, they become one. You hold each other responsible. That is your job. So if you don't want that, that is completely okay. Just be honest with yourself and govern yourself accordingly. Don't get into a serious long-term relationship if you don't want to be held accountable. Okay? So it is your job to hold the person accountable. And it's also your job is to teach people how to treat you. So if they're late all the time, if they're not mindful of your time, if they're disrespectful of you and your time, after you've told them and you've clearly articulated, maybe let's say what your work hours are, but they still call you at work when you clearly articulated that you cannot receive personal calls. And I'm not talking, this is not your husband or your children. This is a stranger that you're getting to know. And you say, hey, I am available between these hours. I cannot accept personal calls at work. But instead of remembering or being mindful or being cognizant of these things, they decide to call you anyway. And let's say you're in a boardroom situation. Let's say you're in a classroom situation. Let's say you're on in the field. Let's say you're working machinery. Let's say you're in the middle of an arrest and your phone goes off because you forgot to put your phone on what is it? Whatever you put your phone on, what, do not disturb or something. You forgot to do that, and this person calls you, or add insult to injury, video you while you're on your job. It's just plain old blatant disrespectful. It's just not mindful. The person just lacks maturity, and it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. So, with that being said, you have to respect. What is that? Number 8? Respect, y'all. Adulting and dating, you have to move respectfully. If you want respect, guess what? You got to earn it. I'm sorry. This is a different generation of people. It just seems weird. You a brand new person entering into my world, and I'm entering into yours. You got to move respectfully. You got to move respectfully. You got to move respectfully. You really, truly do. You know? And so all of these things are important, especially early in. And I want to say throughout the relationship, it just doesn't happen or should start at the beginning. And then somehow or another, we throw these things, these concepts out of the window, you know, as we get into more serious relationships or serious in the relationship. No, we're supposed to continue with these things ongoing. But if it's not being exhibited in the beginning, then is it going to just pop up later on down the line? I'm just saying. So you have to have standards. That's another. What is that? Number 9? With adulting and dating, you have to have standards. I know. It's tough, but you have to, because be honest with yourself. You have standards. We all have them. Okay. We all have standards. So your standards shouldn't be flushed down the toilet, thrown out the window. You should keep them. They're important to you. There are core values that you have, core values that you've learned, core values that you've made for yourself that you live by, that you just can't seem to dismiss or throw away. They're important to you. And so in the dating process, especially if you're strongly considering someone long term or for potential husband or wife, then those things become extremely important, because now you're trying to determine whether that person that's in your life matches your core values. Now you're looking for someone who is compatible and who is suitable. So again, going back to the intentional thing, right? Moving with intention. If you already know what your core values are, then that's something that you should ask right up front. And other people may even translate core values to be deal breakers. If people do not meet or match, or if the core values are not compatible, then that would be considered a deal breaker. It's just absolutely pointless for you to get into a relationship with someone if there is no compatibility in your core values. Core values could be religion, core values could be faith, core values can be children, core values could be money, core values could be anything. If at the core of you, if it's a value, if it's something that's extremely important that you cannot live without doing, or if this is something that is a moral for you, then you can't violate that because you'll dishonor yourself. So in your process while you're dating, especially in adulting and dating, that's always at the forefront of your mind while you're trying to determine if this person is your person. Do we match in terms of our core values? With your core values, there is no opposite attract type vibe. Not with core values. That can be with other things such as introverts, extroverts, how you function in your environment, what your cognitive functions are in terms of how you think and process information. Sure, you can have that you know, opposite attract when it comes to personalities, but when it comes to your values, you have to be in agreement in order for it to work. Or it's just going to be this constant pulling, right? And you don't want that ongoing because after a while, the relationship is just going to come to an end. It's going to come to an end on its own, you know, because that's just not how life works. After a while, somebody's going to get tired because you're literally pulling in different directions. That's why the Bible talks about being equally yoked. When cattle or oxen are yoked together, they usually yoke them by their size and their ability to pull something, by their strength, their capabilities. They don't usually connect a strong oxen with a weak one, or a mature oxen with a child or a kid. They usually match you based upon your size, maturity, and your ability. Same thing in relationships. That's where you become equally yoked when you have that compatibility. That is uber important, especially for those that are looking for something long term and permanent. Now, if you're just dating to be dating, you can adult in dating and be dating to be dating. Just make sure that whomever it is that you're connecting with is on the same page. That's it. It's very simple and honest about it. Walking in their truth, not in denial, not playing games, or being deceptive. Make sure that they're being honest with themselves and what they want. If you clearly articulate that you just want something for now and you don't have any intentions for something for later, if they want to move like that and y'all are on the same page, then so be it. That is just, I know I'm realistic when it comes to life. I've moved like that from time to time in my lifespan. But I figure this, at a certain age and point, you have to consider legacy and who you're leaving the legacy to. You know what I mean? So those things are important. Who am I leaving an inheritance to? Eventually I had to get to the point where, hey, I want children. I want to be married when I have my children, things of that nature. I want mom and dad to be a fixture, a strong structure model for my children so they have something to pattern after. Unfortunately, we end up divorced, but they still have parents that were married. And we try to coexist and make it work. So with that being said, let's do the adulting and dating. I know that adulting is not attractive to most folks. It seems so boring and dull, but it really isn't. What I find is when everybody's being an adult while dating, that folks are a lot much more happier. We're honest, all right? That's another one. What is it? Would it be number 9? Being honest. Honest. Now, can you have a filter in your honesty? Absolutely. You can have a filter. But if you don't want children, please don't lie. Tell the truth. If you don't want to be married anytime soon, but you want to be married one day, tell the truth. If you have a physical preference, tell the truth. If you have a type, tell the truth. Where are you financially? Tell the truth. Be honest. Be honest, because especially if you're really interested in him or her, and your lies find you out, That's going to be a sad moment. And I will tell anyone, if you've given a person the opportunity to come clean and to be honest and to be open, and you've created an environment that is conducive for that, and they choose to not be forthcoming, not be honest, and to play games, they've lost their privilege for another chance. Once you discover the lie, then you need to go ahead and get out of the relationship, because no, once you've created an environment that they can be honest and open about whatever without judgment, and they still refuse to come clean, then, as I forestated, they get no second chance, especially in dating. Now, yeah, forgiveness, everyone should be forgiven. We should forgive each other all the time. But it doesn't mean that we have to, especially in a dating situation, you're new, you haven't earned your stripes, you're still being groomed, we're still trying to confirm whatever it is we're trying to confirm, and it's not fully been confirmed. No, you haven't earned multiple chances. No. Should I forgive you? Sure. Because I want forgiveness. That's how we should roll. We should be forgiving people. But should you get another chance? No, you haven't earned that. You haven't earned that right. Right? So, with that being said, honesty is the best policy. Move in honesty. Be honest with yourself. Be true to yourself, number one. And then be honest in all your engagements. And those are really basic rules in adulting, in dating. Now there are more, but I'm gonna leave it there. What I find interesting, especially since I'm in this field of coaching and counseling, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and it just makes it tough for a lot of brothers. Shout out to all the brothers that are interested in me, all the brothers that have dated me, or what have you. Yes, there are some big shoes to fill, and I have some standards. And this is pretty much how I function. I strongly believe that I can't continue to give relationship advice if I'm not able to keep my own advice or to take my own advice. That would be hypocritical. And I'm huge when it comes to authenticity. And that's another thing that can be our number 10. Authenticity. Be authentic. Be you. Because when you're you, unapologetically, it's either they're going to want it or not. Don't be somebody else. Be you. Because if they're your person, they're going to love you for you. You ain't got to put on airs. You don't have to put on stunts. You don't have to put on shows. You can be who you are, and they're going to like it and love it. All right? Be authentic. So since authenticity is extremely important to me, however I move, if I tell you to do something, if I give you these standards, then guess what? I have to be the first partaker. Just like in ministry, if I preach, which I'm a minister, if I preach the gospel, if I preach the word, then I'm the first partaker. In my day-to-day life, I should be striving to measure up to that word. The same thing when it comes to coaching. I have to strive to keep my integrity when it comes to everything that I share with you. So guess what? No, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I really do believe that the tools and the strategies and the skills that I share are very beneficial. And I feel if someone listens and implement them in their life, then they're going to have great gain. And so because I really can 100% stand by what it is that I share, and I know it to be truth and it works, and I can live by it, then guess what? I'm gonna do. If I can't stand by my own words, then who can? right? So I believe wholeheartedly in the things that I share, wholeheartedly. And I'm one of the first partakers, since I'm the first to share. So I say all that to say that even in my singleness, I live by these same rules, and not trying to be mean or anything like that, because you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be nasty. No, you can just simply be kind and sweet, and you can have a good heart and good spirit and still maintain your integrity. And that's all I'm trying to say, because adulting and dating is maintaining your integrity. You don't want it to be said at any given point in time from the people that you have dated and that have had encounters with you that you're a bad person. Because one of the things that I do believe, just like the Bible says when it talks about a good reputation, he says that in his word, the Bible says in his word, God says in his word, that a good reputation is to be valued, because it's hard to come by. Once your reputation has been ruined, it's difficult to build it back up again. That is facts. So in adulting and dating, you never know who you're going to engage, who you're going to meet, who people are connected to. You just never know. So if you mishandle and mistreat people, you just never know where they will be and who they're connected to and how it's going to affect you, even down to your bottom line. You just never know who they know. So we have to be careful how we treat people, because we just never know how it's going to affect us in the back end. And I told y'all, you reap what you sow. People call it karma. I don't believe in karma. I believe people reap what they sow. So I believe that what you put out is what you get back. It's that simple. Rule number one, treat people like you want to be treated. Treat them with respect. Be honest. Be intentional. Okay, and everything else. Communicate well. Keep your word. Be honest. Keep your word. Whatever word you put out there, make sure you keep your word. All right. Move with integrity, and it will be well. All right. I think I've taken enough of your time. The reason why my videos are so long, I know people don't like listening to long videos, but when I do put content out, I just like to just put it all out, and I won't more than likely revisit the topic again. I don't have a lot of time. So when I do commit to doing videos, I like to at least put the content out there and let it be deep enough where if you need to stop and revisit the video, you can. You can pause it and come back at another time. But I just like to put it all out, whatever the topic is, in that given point in time, and just leave it there. And then whenever, like, I understand people may have 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You may not have an hour to listen to the whole thing. That's completely fine. Just pin it and come back to it. Find your place, write it down, come back to it, and watch the rest. And I really do believe that you'll be blessed. Okay. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, shout out to the YouTubers. I appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe to the YouTube. Do that now. Impacting Mindsets Global. Do that now. Impacting Mindsets Global. You are welcome. Go ahead and like the video now. Go ahead and like and subscribe to YouTube. I wish I had the horn. Make a comment. What do you think? Adulting and dating. Should we be mature? I think most people would agree. All right. So go ahead and subscribe. Shout out to all the Facebook pages. Shout out to the business page, which is Impacting Mindsets Global. I'm Global. That's me. All right. So Impacting Mindsets is I'm Global for short. All right, so that is my business name. All right, so go ahead and like me there at that particular page. Go ahead and like that page too. For those that may not know, that is the name of my business. I'm Global. I'm Global Dating and all of its entities. All right, I'm Global Everything. All right, so go ahead and follow me there on Facebook. And then you can also like this video, give me some hearts, make a comment. I would love to read what it is that you think or feel concerning this topic, adulting and dating. Kind of curious as to what your thoughts are. Yeah. And for those that have not liked the Dr. Kesha page, you're welcome to do that as well. All right, friends, that's all I got. This is Chatting Tea with Dr. D. Dr. Kesha, that's me. Until next time, peace and love.